Here we go. I do love to honor time, and I know that all of us have really busy schedules. So I'm going to just do a little pre-introduction as we wait for some others to join us live today. But you are here. You are in the right place if you are here to learn about the best CRM that you could possibly integrate into your capital
Intimately
raising.
integrate into your systems.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Dom. That was a great way of doing that. Intimately integrate into your systems. And I know a lot of us are involved in, real estate and raising capital. And I know that I have other friends that have actually chosen to use this platform as their CRM for businesses that are not in the capital raising space. So I just want to encourage you. I'm going to give a quick shout out to Dallon before I continue because we know I'll talk, but I just want to introduce Dallon for a brief moment and say Dallon is a good friend. He emceed the first Conscious Investor Growth Summit a couple of months ago and absolutely crushed it. But you know what good friends do? Good friends introduce you to great things. And November, December, as I was looking at what 2024 looked like, I had a massive pain. My systems were broken and I was aware of it. And next thing you know, my good friend Dallon, hey, Julie, and we start this conversation and I'm like, yes, please, tell me more. I want to know more. And I was so eager and hungry to learn. And I am so glad that I did that. So I want to say that's like my, yay. Thank you, Dallon. I'm going to say more about that, but I'm going to let Dallon talk for just a moment. Dallon, thanks for introducing me to Capitallyst Pro and welcome to our Capitallyst Pro workshop.
Awesome. Thanks, Julie, so much for having me. And such a great turnout, guys. Appreciate you taking time out of your Tuesday morning. And you were all here before I was. So I think that says a lot about your character and your interest in what we're going to be discussing today. Now, Julie, is the time mine, or is there other things you wanted to share?
Let me share one more thing. I just want everybody to be able to go, oh, that's who Dallon is, in case you don't already know Dallon.
Guy with the mustache. The bald guy with the mustache.
Who also likes to mountain bike and do things with effectiveness. So one of the things that I noticed that when I was looking to make this transition, and the reason why I chose to even host this workshop, some of you know me well enough to know that I'm very mindful about when I make introductions and when I refer people into, hey, you should try this program. I don't just do that haphazardly because I don't want to misguide and mislead anyone. This is hands down the best solution I have implemented into my business to date. It has streamlined my life. And now I have one login to rule them all. And it is so amazing. So and the things that I wanted to grow my business into, like having a platform away from social media platforms, similar to Circle, and having the ability to text message, having the ability to track things more effectively. It's all baked in and built in, and I am only scratching the surface. And so I'm so excited about the efficiencies, the effectiveness, and more importantly, I'd say equally importantly is the support that I've received in making this transition. So some of us have some pretty sizable, substantial, databases, and trying to migrate and trying to implement new systems can really feel, to me, it felt overwhelming. It felt daunting. And I really love the level of support that I've had along the way with Capitallyst Pro, particularly every Wednesday. I know that there's an hour of open office space where I can just drop in and ask questions. I don't know of any other software that allows you to just do that. And so I'm like, thank you. It's not that they hold your hand necessarily all the way, but all the support is built in there. And there's so many other layers of support to make it easy. So, all the things that I love about, I feel a little bit like Oprah right now, like all the things I love about this and the people behind it, it's just amazing. So Dallon, I'm going to turn everything over to you and so that you can just walk us through Capitallyst Pro.
Awesome, guys. So what I found is before we actually jump into, I guess what I would consider a live demo of the solution, it's important to understand how this even came to be and kind of where we come from as the founders. And my co-founder Paul is actually on this call as well, Paul Karchner. First and foremost, I gotta say, find good partners in any business you're in. Find a good partner that complements you, and you guys are going to be able to get a lot done. So this, to give you a little background of me real quick, before we jump into the demo, I want to walk you through my mindset and what I feel like is a lot of people's mindsets around raising capital, and just kind of really set the foundation for it. I'll be honest, we're not going to be able to get into everything on this call. My goal is to give you enough to want a little bit more. I'm just being completely transparent with you because there is so much information on this as well. So Capitallyst Pro was actually born out of necessity for us. We are active fund managers in the real estate space. We're in the process of fulfilling a $10 million fund this year, and then next year going to be opening up our $30 million fund. So we specialize and focus in the multifamily space. And last year, when we decided to focus exclusively on capital, we realized that we had a mess of systems. We were using Active Campaign, we were using Calendly, we had all these different softwares, and we are trying to integrate them with Zapier. And a lot of you could probably relate to that if you're in that space already, or maybe you're not in the real estate space, but you're in business and you're still trying to find good systems to communicate. So we went head down, we found this incredible program, and we were able to build and cater a solution that fit our needs on this platform. And then just through conversations with people like Julie and other people in the space, we realized we weren't the only ones with effed up systems, and and a lot of people need more improvements. And the way that mine and Paul's brains work is very systematic, very organized, and I need that in my life because of my ADD. If I don't have a list, if I don't have a good system, if I don't have a good process to follow, it's hard for me to be effective with my time. And those of you that feel similar can probably relate to that. So everything that we've integrated and built into this comes from a space of how can we be more efficient, more effective, and really maximize our time and keep things organized so we can either automate or delegate. That's really what it comes down to. So let's jump in. I got a few slides here I want to talk about. Do I have the ability to share, Julie?
You should, yes.
Okay. All right, so the presentation, we decided to title it Mastering Your Systems to Raise Capital on Autopilot. Sounds exciting, sounds fun. Yes, we're going to talk about this. Really what this comes down to at the root of it, and where I really want to set the foundation, is time. Like in the next 40 minutes that we have together, 50 minutes or so, I'm going to show you how to save time. And what I found in most cases, upwards, not only time, but money. So my goal is to show you how you can save about $30,000 this year by spending less time on things that need to get done, that you're either not automating or you're not delegating. So how to get involved in real estate. This is my interpretation of the most basic ways to get started. And if you're not in real estate, a lot of these things might still apply to you and your business. So in my case, there's two ways to get involved in real estate. You either get the deal or you get the money, period. That's it. Like if you want to get involved in real estate, those are the two things you need. You need a deal and you need a money, and you need the money. Now, what I found, these are Dallon's statistics. This is Dallon's opinion, right? I have nothing to back this up, so don't ask me about it. This is just from my observation, being in the space for over 5 years now. I would say about 80% of the people in this industry go after the deal. They learn how to underwrite deals. They start talking to brokers. They start sourcing the deals. And I think a lot of this comes from this saying that a lot of us have probably heard previously is, if you find a good deal, the money will come. Who's heard that before? Well, if you find a good deal, the money will come. That's a bunch of crap, in my opinion, because I found good deals and the money didn't come. So what I found is about 80% of people look towards the deals, 20% look towards the money. And what we found when we decided to pivot and only focus on the capital side of this business, we did it because we realized that the capital, the money, is truly the lifeblood of any deal, and really any business. Like, sure, this workshop here has a real estate flair on it, but really you need capital to operate any business. So if you can figure out how to source the capital and where to get it, you can have and chase after any business venture that you want. So when we realized this, it started opening this bag of worms of these improvements that we needed in our own systems. So we're not going to be talking about how to source deals. We're going to be chatting a little bit about money. Now, why do I feel like only 20% of the people go towards capital and raising capital for real estate? Again, my thoughts, nothing to back this up. Okay. Number one, I feel people have a poor relationship with money. I feel like at the root of it, a lot of us just have a poor relationship with money. This is something interesting that I discovered not too long ago. 80% of Americans, 80% make $100,000 or less per year. 80%. Now, for those of us in the syndication, in the fund space, our minimum investments are typically 50,000 to 100,000. We are literally asking people for as much investment as they probably make in a year, or at least more than 80% of the Americans. And I like to think that, and speaking for myself, I grew up in that 80%. On a good year, my father made about $65,000, $70,000 a year. And a lot of us probably grew up in similar situations. Not everyone, but some of us did. And so when you grow up in that situation, $100,000 is a lot of money. And so I believe that a lot of us have a poor relationship with money because of our upbringing, how we were raised, different limiting beliefs, things that we're not even aware or conscious of. So we could spend an entire day just talking about this. And but anyways, we're not going to do that. Second thing that I think prevents people from getting into money is having the wrong idea of what sales is. When a lot of us hear the term sales, we get like this ick in our mouth, because oftentimes we think of sales being like a used car salesman, and that's really not the case. And those of you that have been successful in real estate, that have successfully raised capital, you know it's so much more than that. You're getting to know people for who they are. You have a solution that meets one of their needs, and you help them, you strategize with them, you consult with them, and it's mutually beneficial. That's really what sales is. And a lot of it is just asking the right questions. It's not trying to force anything on anyone, but a lot of us haven't had the proper training or the proper mindset around what sales is. Again, we're not talking about that. What I think the biggest reason that prevents people from raising more capital for real estate is number 3, lacking a capital raising system. And this was us. And I'm not saying that I've got an incredible relationship with money. And I'm not saying that I have a perfect idea of what sales is. That's ongoing. But what I did have control of is improving our systems. And that's really what we put together. So why are you involved in real estate? As I thought about this question, again, I boiled it down to 2 things. I believe most people get into real estate for more money and more time. And I would actually argue that they get into real estate for the time, but they're pursuing the money to give them that additional time. But here's the thing with money. We all know this. You're going to make money. You're going to lose money. With time, do we ever get that back? Time, in my opinion, is your most valuable resource. It's finite. Once you lose it, you don't get it back. So we're all in this pursuit of trying to get time back. And you guys have probably heard this before, like those that have left a W-2 job to start their own business or be an entrepreneur. It's like, yeah, I left a 40-hour-a-week job so I could work 80 hours a week. And it kind of defeats the purpose of what you're trying to accomplish. But we all have that hope. We all have that faith. We all have that belief that when we hit those goals, we're going to get that time back. And I would also argue that most of us, even if we did start because of the money, it's not why we stay here. 1, because the money takes longer to make than we probably realized. But 2, we grew to appreciate and value the lessons that we learned, the people we met, and who we're becoming in that process. And I think that's something that all of us on this call, I I'm going to throw it out there. I'm sure we can all agree on that. Why? Because you're on this call 10:30 in the morning to learn how to improve your systems, how to raise more capital, how to get more of your time back. Right? Where we have this addiction to learning and implementing new things. So I appreciate you being here. All right. So I'm not saying people on this call think of time and money this way in this correlation. I would say probably 80% of Americans, right? So in most people's minds, if you want to make more money, you put in more time. And why is that? It's because ingrained into us, oftentimes at a younger age, you work at an hourly rate. You work X amount of hours, you get paid this much per hour, this is how much you make. So this is the idea that I think a lot of people have when it comes to making time and money. So if you want to make more money, you got to put in more time. If you want less time, then you're making less money. And that's not the truth. The reality is, and I think most of us on this call can agree, this is what we want and this is what we believe in. Sure, we might need to put in some initial time to start making some money, but at some point, that correlation is going to switch. And we're going to be spending less time and making more money. Now, the only way to accomplish that, I alluded to this earlier, delegate or automate. Stephen R. Covey, in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, says everything is accomplished through delegation. It's either a delegation of your time or a delegation to someone else. The incredible thing is we have so much technology, so much tools in front of us now that a lot of this stuff we can automate. Case in point, I had an assistant helping schedule all my guests for my podcast. She was probably spending a few hours a week following up with these people, getting their bios, getting their headshots, making sure everything was ready to go. Through our solution, I automated all of that. And I automated her out of a job, at least that part of a job, which I then was able to allocate her time and resources to something else that would move the business further because I was implementing these tools. Now, here's my disclaimer here. I don't believe you can 100% automate any capital raise or anything, nor should you. However, there are very, very effective tools out there that if learned how to use properly, it can significantly increase how much you get done in a shorter period of time. So really, it's delegation and automation. So I know most of us on this call probably don't work at an hourly rate, but this is what a lot of us are used to. So what I would like and what I would ask is in the chat box, and I've done this on plenty of presentations, webinars, even in live conferences as I'm speaking, I want you to share what your hourly rate is. Go ahead and throw it in the chat box. If you were to assign, hey, my time, 1 hour, my time is worth X amount of dollars, what would that be? And it may not be what you're currently making. Maybe it's a goal that you want to get to, but I'd like you to throw that in the chat box. Just share that with us. It's always interesting to see where people's ranges are. We'll give you a minute or so to throw that in. Okay, we got 200, we got 500, we got 150. Let's get a few more in here. What's your hourly rate? What would be a good hourly number that you would love to get?
Dallon, if I can interject, my
Please.
conversation with Pace Morby on my podcast, The Conscious Investor, it was amazing. He's like, his hourly rate, if he looks at everything in his life, he's like his hourly rate would be $32,000 an hour. Perspective shift.
Yeah. And a lot of these limiting beliefs are just what we put into our own minds. And then you find people that are, and he's accomplishing that through delegation and automation.
All about delegation and automation. Yep. In fact, he was talking about in that episode about working less. Like, how do I work less so I can be more present with my family?
Yeah. Okay. So we got around 400, 200, 1,000. So, okay. So when I ask this question, I would say on average, people say their time is worth about $200 an hour. That seems to be the most common number that I see, which is a good number. I think a lot of us can make a very healthy living at $200 an hour, assuming it's a 40-hour a work week. Now, some of us might have bigger goals, and that's okay. So, what I'm going to do over the next few minutes is show you through having some good simple systems is how you can get back over $30,000 worth of your time just with a few simple things. So, and before we do that, a couple more things I want to touch on in this idea of getting back your time, of raising capital. Raising capital is a very intensive process. It's a longer sales cycle. Again, we're asking people on average 50,000 to 100,000. It takes time to build those relationships. It takes a lot of work. Now, some people through their networks might already be further ahead than others. And so just keep that in mind. If somebody's raising millions of dollars right off the bat, what was their network like for the last 10, 15 years? What industry were they in? So just consider that. But when it comes to efficiency and effective, there's this idea here that I came to a conclusion on, that you can be efficient and not effective. And you can be effective and not efficient. And that sweet spot is right in the middle where these two things overlap. So what are some examples in regards to raising capital? Being efficient, sending out a mass text to everyone. Hey, we got a webinar starting in 30 minutes, right? That can be a very efficient way to let people know. Sending out a mass email, doing paid ads, doing social media posts. It's a one-to-many approach. It can be very efficient, and it can actually be very effective if done properly. So what are some effective activities that I consider? A personal call or text. If you've ever been on the receiving end of a personal selfie video, that's one of my personal hacks that I love sending, or a text or a call, something simple. Just, hey, Julie, just want to let you know I was thinking about you today. I read this article. I ran into this person. I'd love to make an introduction. Is that something you'd be open to? People want to know that you're thinking about them and that they're just not a number to whatever your business is. So personal calls, texts, handwritten notes, an in-person meeting, storytelling can be very effective, but some of these things can be difficult to scale. Now, it's not that one is necessarily better than the other. How do you bring these together? And that's really what we've been constantly building out and working on over at Capitallyst Pro. Okay, last thing I want to touch on before we jump into the system for a few minutes: consistency. On average, how many times do you feel like we as people reach out to a potential customer, to a potential client, and in this case, talking about real estate, a potential investor? On average, how many times do you think we follow up with them? You guys can throw something in the chat box. I just want to get your thoughts on this. Julie said 2. 0. On average, 1 to 3 times. What do you think is required? Oh, shoot. See, I might be a systems pro. I'm not a PowerPoint pro. That came a little premature. Required is 8 to 12 touches, right? So if we're following up with people 1 to 3 times, but it's required to do it 8 to 12 times, and we're not efficient, we're not effective, we don't have good systems in place, no wonder we're having a difficult time. Some of us, maybe not, are having a difficult time raising the capital that we want or getting the business that we want. Now, what if I was to tell you we could automate 80% of those touches or 70%? So then we're being efficient, and then those other 1 to 4 touches, 2 to 4 touches are more personal via text or call. If we could bring these two together, hopefully you can start seeing the impact that this can have on your business and on your capital raise. So we're reaching out 1 to 3 times, and then we wonder why it's difficult to raise money for a deal. And not to mention that most people, when it comes to real estate, they're not raising capital until they get a deal under contract. Now they're thrown into fight or flight because they have 45 to 60 days to raise millions of dollars. And unless you're actively prepping your network, it's hard and stressful to just go after it. And you never want to be perceived as the operator that only talks to somebody when you need capital. That the best time to raise capital is when you actually don't have a deal. Problem is, a lot of us don't have a good system in place to do this. Ask me how I know. We just raised, we committed $500,000 with our fund to a deal in Texas that we just closed on. We had that committed in less than 24 hours from one email being sent out. And it's because our nurturing was ongoing for the last few months. And that number is going to continually increase. And we likely could have raised more for it, but just given the situation where we were at, that's what we committed to, and that's what we hit. So, all right, let's get into demo time. Okay. So if you guys have questions along in the next few minutes, go ahead and throw them in here. I'll be honest, I'm only going to take 10, 15 minutes. I'm going to cruise through this. Now, that's not because it's not because that there's almost too much value I can share. So I'm trying to pick the highlights, things that I felt would be beneficial to you. And to be honest, I also wanted to share with you a special offer that I had put together with Julie because she hosted this webinar and you guys took time out of your day. So I want to make sure I give myself a few minutes to review that with you. But I want to give you a good idea of what this system looks like and what it entails. Okay, let's see here.
There's also a live demo on the website that you can review. And I had a good friend reach out and say, Julie, are you still as excited as you are in this testimonial? And I said, even more excited.
Yes, thank you, Julie. And that's another good point. So we do have a pre-recorded demo on our website you can access, and our team's always available. So if you have more questions and you want to identify if it really is a good fit for you, then just schedule a call with our team and we'll walk you through it. We can get a little bit more into the weeds as we understand what it is that you're truly looking for. Julie, I'm not seeing my little green outline. Is Capitallyst Pro window, is that being shown right now?
It is, yes.
Okay, is it my whole desktop or just the window here?
It's just the window.
Okay, cool.
And all your tabs.
Okay, excellent. And guys, the reason I open up all these tabs, one, that's just an insight into my ADD brain. But more importantly, when I found that when we start walking through this system while screen sharing on Zoom, sometimes it lags. So I pre-opened a lot of these tabs so that there wasn't these awkward spinning wheel moments so that we could just cruise right through it. So if you have questions, please feel free, throw them in the chat box. I want to be able to address a few of them in the remaining few minutes we have. I'll be honest, we won't be able to get to all of them, but what we'll do is we'll write them down and we will respond to them in a follow-up email. So excellent. All right, guys. So this is Capitallyst Pro. Again, this is our CRM. This is not an investor management tool. We use Syndication Pro. I know other people use Cashflow Portal, InvestNext. There's a lot of them out there. This is not that. This does not replace that. I want to be very, very clear. This is the front end of the funnel. As people come into your network, you meet them at events, you meet them at a webinar, you host a webinar, and they come on. How are you nurturing those leads? Where are they at in that sales pipeline? And so I'm going to highlight some of the features here. Number one is our conversations tab. So and this is obviously in a demo account, but any conversations you have with somebody is going to come up here in the middle. Now, this is text, email. If you integrate your social media accounts, which you can, any messages coming through Facebook Messenger, Instagram, those will show up here in the conversations tab. And this is important because as people on your team are connecting with different leads coming in, it's great to show what conversations are happening. all in one spot. And we didn't have this initially. We had the same lead in multiple systems with different people taking different notes in different areas, and we didn't have this organization. So your conversations tab tracks everything there. You can sort it out between unread recents. Another big function, and this is where I really spend 70% of my time, is actually in the contacts tab. Now, a couple cool features I want to point out here. You can create smart lists in this. So for example, I know there's a lot of people on this call that are probably doing Reg D 506B funds, meaning you have to have a substantive relationship with that person before you solicit a deal. That's not my rule. That's the SEC's. So you might want to be sorting these contacts based on the conversations and the relationship you have with them. So you could easily create a 506B list, or maybe it's called a verified investor list. So that way, when the deal comes up, you're only sending it to that list. And then your other list will track where people are at in their sales, in the sales process. So really cool feature to track different lists. You can organize them. You do that all through tags. This is pretty common on like Active Campaign and HubSpot and some of those other solutions that you're going to be paying way more money for. So you got the list there, the smart list. And then I want to get into the actual contact card of the person. So again, this is where I spend 70% of my time. This is your conversations. Again, any emails, texts, anything that gets sent to that person from anyone on your team is going to be recorded in here as long as it's done through the system. Now, some of you might be looking at this and be like, hey, this is great. This is desktop. I'm on the go a lot. What happens then? Well, pretty cool thing. We actually have our app, our Capitallyst Pro app. And so that's where you can manage your conversations through text, through email. So when we're on the go, I manage and communicate through my phone and through our app. Now, I spend time on the desktop when I'm on a lot of calls, when I want to be focused. But again, you track the conversations here. You can add additional notes over on the side. It shows any activity if they're clicking on certain trigger links, visiting different pages that you've built out. If there's any appointments scheduled, it will show them here. So again, showing that there's been activity between you and this contact, especially if you're doing a 506B, is critical. And then if you need to update any documents, you can do that, or upload any documents, you can do that right here as well. Now I'm going to take you over here to the left side real quick. This is a custom checklist that we put together because there were 2 occasions where we had investors with docs in front of them. Literally all they had to do was sign and fund, and they didn't. And these 2 instances happened way too close together. So we came together as a team and said, okay, what conversations are we not having in that very first call? What things are not being discussed to get them to this point of signing and funding and then backing out? Like, I get that happens and you can't force anyone to invest, but when it happens too frequently, too close together, we started reflecting on our systems and our processes. And so we came up with this checklist and we said, okay, every discovery call, these are the things that everyone on our team, whoever's having that call, are touching on. And this is just a simple checklist that we can now go through and make sure we're touching on these things on that very first call. So again, anyone on our team can come back in and say, okay, Julie had a call with Carl here. What things did she talk about on that first list? She has all these things checked. Okay, what wasn't discussed was the timeline or the investment amount. So when I follow up with Carl, those are going to be some of the items that I want to make sure I get information about, because if there's any objections, if there's any hesitation around any of these, I want to get that out on the first call and start addressing it and talking them through it and strategizing with it on that first call. So they don't get weeks into the process, get docs in front of them and not sign. That's painful. Some of you may have been there before. It is not fun because you just realize all that time, all that energy, all that excitement. You thought they were going to send money and they back out. It happens. But having a good system and process like this can help limit how frequently that happens. Now, on top of that, we also added in some accreditation status, investment amounts, investment time frame. Again, anybody on the team can come over here to Carl and at a quick glance, get an idea of where they're at and what's been discussed with this person. Now, your notes over here on the right is going to have a much more narrative. It's more detail, more background. What are their kids' names? Where did they go to school? Things that you can refer back to and connect with them on if it's been 30, 60, 90 days since you've connected with this person. So again, and the cool thing is, all this is customizable. Some of you might have a different checklist than what we put together. This comes standard for any of our users, but you might have a different checklist. Guess what? We have a video tutorial to walk you through how to change this and customize it more to your needs. So our whole process with Capitallyst Pro, by the way, we get it about 70, 80% of the way there for you, because we understand that people like to do things differently. And so we get it about 70, 80% of the way, and then we help you, we educate you, we train you on how to get it specifically to where you want it. And that's because everybody has different needs. Excellent. Yeah, a lot of good stuff here. Again, this is where I spend most of my time. I'm going to jump over here to calendars real quick. So on calendars, I was clicking it was working. Okay, so on calendars, you can integrate all your different calendars, whether it's Google, Outlook, and so you could see everything in one spot here, which is very helpful. And then you can also create appointment links. So this replaces Calendly. We no longer use Calendly. We use these. You can set up different calls, durations. You can really customize it based on your needs. You can assign it to different users. You can embed it on your website. You can share the link. We use it for all of our appointment scheduling, and that saves us so much time. And if you're not using an appointment scheduling tool, that's like 101. Like, you need to be doing that, because what we found is on average, people are spending about, I would say at minimum 5 minutes trying to coordinate schedules with other people. Where if you had a link, you could just offer that, and then it's just a much more quicker and efficient way to coordinate schedules. So you got the calendar link, it replaces Calendly, and pipelines is another big one. So for us and our thought process through this, when a new lead comes into our system, they're not going to be in this pipeline. I don't know if they're serious. I don't know if they're engaged. I don't know if they're going to invest. I don't know how they even came in to the system, because we have so many different things out there. So when they come in, I'm not going to be taking my time to reach out to them until I know they're engaged. So how do they get into this engaged lead stage in the pipeline? We integrate it in a scoring system. And what that means is when people are opening emails, when they're clicking emails, when they're filling out forms to register for a webinar, when they're scheduling calls, they're assigned a different point system, a different value, if you will. Once they hit a certain point, then there's automations built into this that's when they get added to engage lead. And then I get notified, hey, Dallon, you might want to reach out to Julie. She's been opening and clicking your emails. Why don't you give her a call? So to Julie, it's going to be a cold call. Is it a cold call to me? Think about that. I see Julie's activity. I see she's been opening and clicking emails. So even though she might perceive it as a cold call, I know and have a good likelihood that she's going to be more engaged, because she's shown that through her activity on our system. And we can track that through here. So I'm calling her, and I'm a lot more confident on that conversation because I know she's engaged with us. And then you progress them along your pipeline. Now, your pipeline is huge because a lot of us on this call probably have other jobs. We have other businesses. We have other things that we're doing. Very few people are full-time 100% real estate investing. And that's just, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the reality of it. So if you only have an hour today to spend on stuff, how are you spending that time? And what I do is, if I say, okay, I'm going to reach out to leads for this hour, I'll come to my pipeline and I start the furthest down the pipeline, because this person is most likely to invest than an engaged lead, somebody that just came into the pipeline. So this is how I prioritize my time so I can be efficient and effective. Excellent. One of the other things I want to show you real quick too is a cold lead drip. So this is a 6-month drip campaign that we have put together for all of our users. The emails are already pre-templated. You could just plug and play. You could just throw your people in this and send them on their way. And this is a weekly email that they get for 6 months. And after they go through 6 months, they start back over again. Now, we encourage all of our users to come in and to tweak it, to personalize it, to make it their own, but the structure is already there. So going back to that sales pipeline, having these emails already built, knowing that you're going into people's inbox every single week. And by the way, this isn't an ask email. All the emails in this coldly drip are informational. They're resource. They're, hey, here's something you should learn. Here's some education. Here's some information. It's not asking for anything. It's give, give, give. Because what we're trying to do is tap into that rule of reciprocity. The more you give, people naturally feel obligated to return the favor. So that's what we're doing here is we're giving, giving, giving. So all that's already built out. Then there's a couple other little features that we did. This was a cool webinar launch workflow that we created. So we build this out for custom values. Webinars can take a lot of time. We have some users that do weekly webinars, and they were spending 1 to 2 hours a week updating that content. So what we did was we created an entire registration page, workflow, email reminders, all that, but we built it out of custom values. What does that mean? Why does it look so funny? This is what it looks like when it's live. So you got a custom value, webinar topic, when people actually view it, how to underwrite multifamily deals. So rather than going in and having to update the entire registration page and all the emails, we're able to do that through custom values. And so you can see the top webinar topic here, how to underwrite multifamily deals. So now our users, when they want to do a webinar, they're not spending 1 to 2 hours updating all that stuff. They're spending 5 to 10 minutes updating some items here that update across all the emails, all the landing pages. So now, rather than spending 1 to 2 hours, they're spending 5 to 10 minutes a week updating their webinars. Those are the features. Those are the things that we continue releasing and building out for our user base. And then the last couple of things I just want to touch on. You can host your websites on this. You can do landing pages. Gosh, there's so much you can do. One thing that we put together for our users too is just an additional resources tab. So this is just one that I'll show you real quick. A lot of people like sharing news articles of different commercial real estate things with their potential investors or with their list. We put together updated emails, and we update this. We add about 4 to 6 a month to the library, so you can access this. You can access the article, and then in your responses, in your emails to your users, you could say, hey, Julie, I just found or read an article on how technology can help optimize multifamily operations. I thought this would be beneficial to you. Here's something I liked about it. So rather than going out and trying to find those articles yourself, we brought them all into one space for our users. So that's a really high level overview of the platform. And I see that looks like there might be some questions or comments here. Julie, did you have a chance to read through? Is there anything we should touch on?
I was in there commenting all the time on all different things.
Oh, okay. So there are 15 comments of Julie's comments. Awesome.
Julie, no, but just one of the things that I noticed, and I'll touch on it because it was in the comment thread, is I'm saving a substantial amount of money because I've consolidated all of my programs. So it's like one login, and for me, it's more economical as well when I compare what I'm doing, especially when I think about I now can schedule social media. So that's another program offloaded that another login I don't have to have because it's contained here. I don't have to go to Calendly because it's contained here. I don't have to, use so many other systems out there. It's just, I love the efficiency of one spot to rule them all.
And I did see John's question. Do we still use Zoom, or is that a native feature? We still integrate with Zoom. Zoom is an incredible product. And so we have that set up in our calendar. So if somebody schedules a call, they automatically get a Zoom link. And then we can access it to our calendar, through our calendars, through Zoom. So there are a couple things that are integrated in to it that aren't an actual part of it. One thing I mentioned, integrating social media accounts. You can actually schedule social media posts as well from the same platform. so you're not posting individually to multiple accounts. So there is that feature. Cool. Let me walk you through a couple of things here real quick.
If you have any questions, drop them in the chat box, so that we can, even if you're wondering about, how long does it take to onboard, or what does this process look like? Just great opportunity to have any of your questions answered.
Yeah, and I want to answer what questions you guys have while we're on this call. And we're all about rewarding people that take action. So I mentioned that we had a cool offer for you guys at the end here. We're very transparent about our pricing too. I'm going to share that with you here in a minute. It's no surprise, and I think most of you will recognize and see how affordable it really is for the amount of value that we're offering. We didn't want it to be a deterrent to anyone, whether they're new to the space or experienced. We wanted to make sure that they just had a good tool with a good team to support them implementing it. And that's really where Paul and I have spent most of our time. And Julie, you can attest to this because you utilize our team a lot. Just the amount of support that we have on your behalf to help you implement these tools. So
he's just wondering about migration. So just help and support as you migrate from one CRM to another.
That was a question.
That's a question. Yeah.
Okay. We'll come to that in just a second here. So a couple things I want to talk about. Okay. We touched on some of these. I showed you very briefly. These are some numbers that we were able to gather just through our own experience and as we took a poll with some of our users. So those that do webinars spend on average about 1 hour a week, just updating, prepping, getting ready for those webinars. That's about 4 hours a month. Email nurturing, if you don't have an automated system already built in, I would say people on average spend about an hour a week designing, creating, drafting an email. So again, you're looking at about 4 hours, a month. Appointment setting, I mentioned this earlier. People, and we've all been there, where you're trying to coordinate schedules and you're sending texts and you're sending emails. That day doesn't work. How about this date? Not only the time you're actually spending sending those emails, the messages back and forth, but the brain power, because we're often in the middle of another task and then we get the email. So then our brain is switching between tasks. And I have an entire presentation on how multitasking is a complete myth and doesn't really exist that we could do a whole nother time. But if you think about it, if you're spending 5 minutes communicating with 10 people a week just to coordinate schedules, that works out to be about 3.5 hours a month, just coordinating schedules, when you could be sharing a scheduling link. And then responding to messages, emails. In our industry, in real estate, and even if you're outside of this, there are probably a lot of canned responses, a lot of similar responses that you could use over and over and maybe make some minor tweaks to. What I didn't show you in Capitallyst Pro was a feature called snippets, where you can create these common responses, and rather than retyping it every single time, you could just pull the template and plug it in and send it to those guests. That's one thing that I didn't show you. So if you're spending about 5 minutes responding to about 20 people a week, you're looking at about 6.5 hours a month. Okay. 18 hours a month of stuff that can easily be automated and delegated. Now, some of you on this call probably are already delegating some of this to a VA. And if you are, awesome. I'm proud of you. But what if I told you we could automate this? Or have your VA spend less time on this so that they can be spending time on other things that will help move the business further. So taking that $200 an hour that we talked about, 18 hours a month, $200 an hour, you're looking at around $3,600 a month. Because a lot of us on this call are probably doing these things ourselves right now. And I'm not going to ask for hands. I'm not going to ask who it is. I'm not going to out you. But the reality is, a lot of us do a lot of this stuff on our own. So if you're one of those people that's $200 an hour, hopefully these numbers are starting to sink in. Now, some of you are at $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour. That's even more money that you're spending and time when you could be automating or delegating. Okay. So what we were able to do with Capitallyst Pro, and that's just on these 4 features that I talked about. Webinars, we got it down about half hour a month with our system. Email nurturing, guess what? They're already built out for you for that cold lead drip. You don't have to spend anything. Now, we do encourage people to go in and tweak it on the front end, but once it's there, any new lead that comes into your system is going through this nurturing process. So some maybe a little upfront time, but not reoccurring time. Appointment setting, half hour a month. And that's because you're sharing a link. Now there's etiquette around this. And there's appropriate ways to share this link. But if you're not using a scheduling, you should. And responding, if you're using a lot of the same responses, use a snippet tool, use a template tool, and that's going to save you a lot of time. So you go from 18 hours to 1.5 hours. You're looking at $300 a month. That's a savings of $3,300 a month. Yeah, I threw it here, right? 18 hours, 1.5 savings, $3,300 a month. Okay. All right, guys, this is where we're at. This is premium. This is where 90% of our users are at. I told you we're very transparent on pricing. You can find this on our website. I'm not hiding anything. For the automations, for the new features, everything that we currently have, our current pricing for this is $297 a month. Unlimited contacts, unlimited users. So that in itself, hopefully some of you are like actually realizing how good of a deal it is. But listen, again, I like to reward people that take action, and you're taking time out of your day to be here with me and with Julie. So if you guys sign up, and full transparency, I have 2 more webinars this week with a total of about 150 people registered. Now, we know that not everyone shows up, and that's okay, but I'd say, Julie, about half of the people just about showed up for this one.
Oh.
So if that doesn't show you how big of a need and a demand what we're talking about is in our industry, I don't know what else does. Okay. So if some of this is resonating with you, if you need some more information, we'll get you a link to contact my team. But if you guys sign up, the first 10 that sign up before Friday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard, are getting these additional things. A one-on-one strategy call with me so I can understand your current situation. What's your way of gathering leads? How are you bringing them in? So that I can point you in the right direction, that when you get this rolling, you know where to focus your time in those first 1 to 2 months to help build that flow out. Okay. That's a 1-hour call with me. I'm doing that for the first 10 people. On top of that, I got a good friend of mine, incredible at sales. You know, at the beginning, I talked about our belief system around sales, our relationship with money. That is what he specializes in. And he's hosting a workshop in May. And just because of my relationship with him, he knows Julie, we were able to coordinate this as a freebie for those that sign up to be able to attend. So that's in May. That's an exclusive sales workshop you'll get as well. Data migration. Somebody asked about this. And we can talk a little bit more about it. Data migration can mean so many different things. If it's just contacts, that's pretty dang quick and simple to do. If you have entire automations and other features and things built out in previous CRMs, we are not charging to rebuild that in your account for you. Our team will take that on, again, for the first 10 people that subscribe. And so all that, again, guys, you're looking at under $3,500. That's stuff that we just want to throw on for you for paying the $297 a month. No other people are getting this right now. This is for this webinar for Julie. We are going to offer it on the 2 other webinars that we're doing this week as well. But if people just go to our site, they're going to be paying $297 and not getting any of that. And if you decide to go annually, we're $29.97. You basically get 2 months free for that. Yeah, see, I'm a little slow and delayed on my PowerPoint stuff there. Guys, all that's included. Like, ultimately, what mine and Paul's goal is for you is to help you master your system, help you raise more money, and just get more of your time back. And we had no intentions to bring this to market. Full disclosure, we had no intentions to bring it to market, but once we recognized how big of a need it was, it was one of those things that we couldn't turn a blind eye to. And it's one thing that Paul and I really enjoy, and we love helping other people get this stuff in play. So we've already jump started a lot of it. We have a solid foundation for our users so that you guys can spend more time doing the things that you want to do. And that's probably talking to people, raising money, and just building your business. So
I just have to add, I just realized as you're going through those bonuses, I was having to pay, I think, $450 just for active campaign alone because of where I had reached with my contacts. And it would like, if you reach a certain point with these different CRMs, they won't let you send emails. And what I found with active campaign, the moment I decided to leave, I saw the true colors and I was so sad. So anyway, I was already paying substantially more just for a single program. It's been amazing, but I love the community. And this is something you haven't mentioned, but I know, I have friends here and, that are on this call, and I love like those Wednesday calls, even like people are asking their questions and it helps me understand other elements. And there's this little, you guys have not said it like this, but I feel like it's almost like a very organic mastermind opportunity because have line of sight as to if they want to have, if you're asking the question out in the forum, everyone has line of sight and it's like, oh, wow, they're doing that. And now I can go to those people and I can ask them like, hey, what are you thinking with this? How's that working out? And it's creating a really interesting community at the same time. So I just love it. Obviously, I love it. That's why I said, Dallon, let's have a workshop and share this with the world. We cannot keep this a secret.
And it's hard to unpack everything that we have in an hour. It truly is. So I hope that in this past hour, those of you that are still on had some insight into how we operate, how our minds work, and really what we're bringing to market, what we're offering to others in this space. So, Keish, you had a question. What kind of help would we get migrate from another CRM? Could you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because I might be able to give you some more details on that.
So it sounds like you answered the question. It's part of the, I guess, onboarding. So for the first 10 people, you would provide data migration from, is that correct? Or maybe I misunderstood. So
yeah,
I have,
so every user, regardless, gets a one-on-one onboarding with our team. So we help them get their domain set up, their email set up. That's just standard for anyone. Now, data migration, and part of that is uploading your previous contacts. So I guess my question for you, Keish, is there more than the contacts that you're looking to bring over?
not that I know of, but I don't know.
Okay. Do you mind me asking what system you're currently on?
Zoho 1.
Zoho. Okay. And Denise, you just made a comment in there too. You just switched over to Zoho. So, yeah, that's one of the things that we would have to, that would be part of that strategy call too, is like really understand what it is that you're bringing over. For example, some people have automations already built out in Active Campaign, and they're like, hey, we like this flow. We've got this process. Can we just bring that over? And it's like, yes, we can, but there's no easy way to do it. We literally have to redesign it in our user's account. So that's the data migration piece that we will be offering for free for those users. Now, as far as uploading contacts, tags, things like that, that's pretty easy to do and pretty standard.
Okay.
I loved all the migration of my workflows in the sense of I actually put line of sight back on things, and it had been a couple of years since I had actually really stepped into them because they were on autopilot. And so this even making the transition was really healthy for everything to be able to say, what is going on with your business and what are you doing? And I'm embarrassed to say that, but I mean, I think it's also helpful to know the process of this type of transition in the care of people who can support you is really powerful.
It's a lot of work. Like ask Julie, like switching systems is a lot of work. Denise said she just switched to Zoho. That was probably a ton of work. Switching CRMs can be a lot of work. It's that short-term pain for the long-term
Yeah.
And we recognize that. And that's where we're spending. I am telling you, 80 to 90% of our time with our users is in that first 30 days and just helping them get switched over. We got the 24/7 live chat support. We got help docs, over like 200 articles of help docs to do specific things. We have our open office hour calls. We have our Friday training calls. We have online modules to actually walk you through step by step of things that you need to do. So we've made it as simplified as we could, but to think that there's not any work involved, that would be a lie and would be misleading you. But we're there to really help support and help you save time and save cost in the long term.
I've never had another migration like this where I've had the level of support that I've had. And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Awesome. So Dallon, where are they going if they want to sign up, if they want to get in on all of these on this amazing opportunity? What do they need to do?
I'll drop a link here in the chat box, and Julie, I'll share this with you so when you follow up with them. And if the premium plan isn't for you, we do have a $97 a month plan, but that doesn't have all the automations and stuff built into it. It's more of the basic if you're newer to it. Now you can always upgrade at any point, but I did want to mention that as well. So let me throw
that in there. And some things, I know that we have some fellow podcasters on here. They've built out other automations that we're not even talking about. So if you have, say, a monthly meetup group, some of you do, and you want to be able to really optimize and efficiently, engage those type of groups. One, you would have an opportunity to have a private group off of social media platforms, which means you're in control of it. You don't have privacy issues. It's very effective. It's powerful. But there are other workflows that you guys keep building out. And so I love that this is just the beginning of a really great opportunity.
And another thing I'm going to throw in here for you guys as well. So I just shared the link to sign up if you're ready to go. If you want some more time, Denise, I saw your comment there. I'm throwing a scheduling link in here for a discovery call. This is a 30-minute call. If you want to talk more specific about your needs and what can happen, what we need to do to make that transition, if that's something you're considering, then jump on that call, please. And that's with me. I'm not, again, like I usually I don't want to say push because that sounds bad. I usually guide people to other people on our team that run these discovery calls and demo calls. But again, since you guys are on this call, I know Julie, you guys know Julie. I wanted to make sure that time was spent with me. I'm happy to give you that time if it's something you're looking for.
Awesome. Well, to honor everyone's time, I'm usually really good at starting and ending on time, but apparently not today. Dallon, I want to say thank you so much. And Paul, I don't know if he's still on, but I'm so grateful that you guys built this out. And I'm grateful that you did bring it to market and that you reached out to me and what it's done for my business and helping the health of my business. I have some investors that are here. So I'm like, see, I need this. So it'll be really, really great. So thank you so much. And then again, just go ahead and if you want to copy that chat thread so that you have those links handy, please do that. And I will send out a webinar. I'll send out the recording, and all of these have everything for this workshop, by the way, has been optimized and run through Capitallyst Pro. So it's been an exciting process. Yeah, thanks to everybody for coming and hanging out and learning. And Dallon, thanks again for your time. And don't be a stranger. Reach out to Dallon, ask questions, and sign up by Friday so that you can get in on all those extra goodies.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Julie. Thanks
guys.
Everyone.
Great to see you. Have a great day.